Shalom. We are currently in Parashah Tzav. It means he ordered or he instructed. Now this Torah portion, the name, only consists of two letters, Tzadik and Vav. And for those who are familiar with the meanings, you know that the Vav on the left is man, and the Tzadik is the word or the letter that means righteous. So we basically have a righteous man that is instructed. Now, righteousness is to know what is right and to do what is right. So it's based on knowledge and understanding and then action. Now, righteous is one term. Righteousness is a term that's allocated to Mashiach, because he is the only righteous one, and we receive our righteousness based on his righteousness regarding the penalty of sin. To declare us righteous, we need his righteousness. But this righteousness is in relation to instructions, and the order or instruction is similar to a commander ordering his troops, instructing his troops what they need to do in the midst of a battle. Now, as I mentioned previously, we are in the season of Purim. Purim is the scene where there was a decree by the king to kill all the Jews, and then the king extended grace so that they can defend themselves, and they also were given or allowed weapons. So that's where this whole parashah comes into play. We are in a scene where there's potential battles coming, or there's battles raging. I think specifically where we are in our Torah cycle, in this real life situation. We have been in battles all the time, and specifically with us facing these floods and things, there's definitely battles happening. People are struggling. They need to stand strong. And what this Torah portion is actually telling us is that we need to be righteous, know what is right. So you need to know the instruction, and then do what is right, do the instruction. Where do we get the instructions? It is written. When Yeshua said that, what did he quote? The Old Testament. So we should not annul or take away the two-edged sword, which is the foundation of the scripture, and then try to take on the enemy. So that's just the introduction. Now, what I want to talk about today is the other part of this verse that says that it talked about the opening of the tabernacle or the tent of meeting. That is the word petach Ohel Moed, the phrase Petach Ohel Moed. Now, it's translated as door in the English Bible, but it's actually just an opening. Now, an opening can have a door, or maybe it doesn't have a door. It's just an opening you enter through. And this term, or this phrase, is used 49 times in Scripture. Now, we know that 49 is a multiple of 7. 7 has to do with the cycles. Cycles has to do with order and to align. Specifically, if you think of a military application, they need to have their timing and their sequence, and when they're going to battle, gather together, and also to attack at the same time in order to be effective. So it's all about that concept. And this opening was basically where the congregation met, and that's where they heard the instructions, the Tzav, the orders coming from the priesthood, specifically the high priest. And they met at that opening. Now, when you look at the construction of the tabernacle, as you can see on the schematic, that the tabernacle is divided in two blocks of equal sizes. And in the middle is where the doorway of the holy place is. And that is the petach, the opening. Now, the two circles I've got on there, the blue represents the spiritual, orange the physical, and they overlap where this opening is. And that's where the spiritual and the physical come together. And that's where Yahweh can meet with the people through the mediator of the high priest, or the mediators of the priesthood, because they are the only ones who were allowed into the holy place. So that is a very important space within the tabernacle. I might say the most important space in the tabernacle, if you want to hear the voice of Yahweh. Now, what we also see in this is that the word petach has the gematria of, I think it's 588, and it's all to do with the gathering of a virgin, the measurement, a garment, which need to be without spot and wrinkle, and then you can enter the tent of the Father. So it also aligns with the Olah offering, which is the first topic that is brought up in this Parashah as well. So it's basically a repeat of the previous one regarding the topics, and the only thing that's now inserted is the consecration of the priesthood. The last, in the previous Torah portion, we looked at the Olah offering, the elevation offering. That's the most important one, based on the fact that it's the goal, it's the end goal, the elevation, with the Aleph and the Vav of Vayikra. It starts with the Vav on the right, ends with the Aleph on the right and on the left, where Yahweh is revealed in the physical and man is elevated into the spiritual. Now we see the Olah offering is the way or the process to elevate man to that status, and this elevation is only applicable to the priesthood, because they are the ones who will have access to the holy place, and that elevation process happens at this opening, the petach. Now the petach, if you look at the letters, it's a letter Pei, Tav, and Chet. So we see the Chet is the opening, the doorway that allows you in, if you enter from left to right, and that is the doorway that leads to life. So that implies that you've already interacted with the brazen altar, which is the Asham, or the guilt offering, and you also interacted multiple times with the laver, the Chatat offering, which has to do with the Aleph, Tav, and the letter Chet. And then we had the Tet, the serpent that's restricting you. So we need to overcome the serpent in order to enter this doorway. And now we see this doorway is the Petach. The first letter on the left, from the left, is the Chet, which is the same Chet as the Chatat. The Chet that is on the right hand side of Chatat, which you can only enter if you overcome the serpent. And you can only overcome the serpent with the water of the washing of the word, which is the laver. And it's that water that prepare your garment as the bride, so that you can enter the tent of the Father, which is the Holy of Holies. And that's where the Olah offering allows you in. So that's the Chet of Petach. Now, then you get the Tav. Now, the Tav is in the middle, and that has to do with what we discussed last week. The Tav is the death to the self, as well as picking up the yoke. You are now ready to prepare ground for the benefit of others. And that is the tasks and the roles of the priesthood, who are now clear. And that falls in in line with the consecration of the priesthood and defining their functions that they need to do. And then, of course, you get the letter Pei, which is the letter on the right of Petach. And that has to do with speaking the word. And it's also a Pei on the right that can also imply hearing the spoken word, or hearing directly from Yahweh and his voice. And this is what we see from the symbolism of the two realms eclipsing at this point of the opening, the Petach, where you will hear the voice of Yahweh, and you will get direction from him and receive his instructions, and then you can be a righteous man and a righteous woman in the army of Yahweh actioning the instructions that you receive. So I just want to leave you with those thoughts, and we'll touch base on the rest of the symbolism within this parashah. And I hope you have a lovely day. Shalom.